Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second breakout session of the day. My name is Caitlin Baker. I'm the creative manager here at GovLoop, and I'm so excited for this session. If you're coming from the lunch keynote, hopefully you got a chance to grab something to eat, take a quick stretch, maybe get a cup of tea or coffee. It's been a busy day, and we still have a lot of good content coming. So let's get to it. In this session today, we're going to be talking about emotional intelligence. Mastering traditional skills hard skills is necessary, but it's not all that you need. To be successful in your job and advance in your career, you also have to develop emotional intelligence, which is that ability to manage your emotions and those of the people around you. Today, our expert Ty is going to share some tips about how to improve your emotional intelligence skills and use them to move up the career ladder. But before we get into that, a few housekeeping items. These should be pretty familiar by now. But feel free to tweet along with us or post on LinkedIn, Instagram, really wherever. Hashtag NextGenGov is what we're using to kind of keep up with that. If you do have any questions during this session, we would love to hear them. We'd love for this to be as interactive as possible. So you can use that Q&A box that's right underneath like my video, I think, and throw any questions in there. Those will be anonymous, or feel free to put anything in the group chat. We'll be monitoring that as well. If you have any technical difficulties or any issues like that, feel free to also put questions in the Q&A box. My colleague Jessica on the back end can answer those for you. We also have our resources available. That's where you can download the slide deck for today, and then other information. And then all of this session, all of the other sessions, every part of this NextGen experience will be available on demand. You'll get an email, you'll get a link emailed to you after today. We are also offering 1 CPE credit for today. For this session, and then you get others for the rest of them too. But there's 3 things you need to do. You have to attend this training for the full duration, take all 3 of the polls that appear, and then complete the evaluation form. That form is in the resource module on this console. You can also find all of the CPE forms for the day in the resource center in the main environment. So with that out of the way, I would like to introduce you to our expert for today, Ty Smith. He is the Director of Strategic Partnerships at the Common Mission Project. Thank you, Ty, so much for being here. Really excited for this session. And with that, I will hand things over to you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are in the world. It just happens to be afternoon here in Bowie, Maryland, is where I live. I'm always fascinated by where people show up and how they show up. Just a little bit about myself. I am the Director of Strategic Partnerships for the Common Mission Project, which is a organization dedicated to creating mission-focused entrepreneurs starting at the university levels and solving really hard national problems by going out and being, like Silicon Valley entrepreneurs. Prior to that, I spent 15 years working in one of the intelligence agencies. Nothing spooky. My job was to help seniors make decisions, help them understand the difference between leading and managing. So that's going to some of the stuff that we'll be talking about today. But the bulk of my experience comes from way back in the day when I was 18 years old as a police officer in South Central Pennsylvania, where I had to learn how to manage people when I'd go to a domestic by myself. If you know anything about law enforcement, that is probably between that and traffic tickets are some of the most dangerous things cops can ever get into. At least it used to be 30 plus years ago. Literally, that was 1986. So I'm old. Hopefully I look younger than that, but that was a long time ago where I had that experience. And so I cut my teeth understanding how people kind of work, how to help them calm themselves down, how to manage my own heart rate. And, you get into one of these situations, your heart starts to beat fast. You don't know what you're supposed to do. And now all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, how do I manage this? But the best way for me to do that was to learn how to manage myself. I then went to work, again, 1986 to 1990. I went to work with emotionally disturbed kids and their families. And if you ever really want to understand how to manage who you are emotionally, socially, emotionally, not just your intellect, because at that point I was a graduate student at Howard University in Washington, D.C., but how to manage kids who, tongue in cheek, we had to pull off the ceiling. Remember the old Tweety Bird cartoon where they would scare the cat. The cat would be on the ceiling just hanging by toenails. But how do you get a child who is having a just completely unhinged moment to to bring them down to a point where they could talk through their problems. I'll tell you, if I couldn't handle it myself, my own emotional state, there's no way that I could help them bring themselves down. And so what we want to talk to today is this idea of, oops, I went the wrong way. I had to press the right thing. This idea of embracing emotional intelligence to help you advance your career. But, that's one thing, but it's how to be a better human. I actually have this not a canned presentation, because I haven't presented it it was definitely pre-pandemic. So it's at least 4, maybe 5 years ago that I presented this. But what I really like about what we're going to talk about today, it really is about how to be a better human being. I understand that you all are taking this to become a better, boss or colleague or leader. But what I find fascinating when I present this is that if I present one thing and I come back a couple of years later to the same group, they're like, do you remember when we talked to you? And they fill in the blank. Like, I went home and I had a better conversation with my spouse. And I'm like, bingo. It's exactly what we're looking for. That's what we're trying to change, the idea of what it means to show up in the world. And so this is who I am. I've been all over the place. I went to Shippensburg University in Pennsylvania, 15 years at NGA, blah, 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 blah. I did a little spot at Home Box Office, which was kind of cool. So I learned that I'm not a corporate guy. I'm a consultant at heart. I help people. I'm an executive coach, and that's what I do. I'm an executive coach, among other things that I've done. And so let's kind of talk about what it means when you have, oh, crap, it doesn't build, does it? It doesn't build. So we're going to talk through, my fault. Oh, there it is. Hey, it does build. Let's talk about why leaders fail. Why leaders fail. And it's not anything magical. You have good leaders. We all have experienced good leaders, and we've all experienced bad leaders. Some of them are completely rigid. They don't want to change. They come into the world, they come into the workforce, they come into your life preformed and don't want to have any conversation. It is do as I say and do as I say some more, right? Because they're so absolutely rigid. They also fail because they can't manage relationships. They can't manage how they relate to other people. I have a child who happens to be on the spectrum, on the autism spectrum. He's a smart kid. I mean, he's more on the Asperger's side of it. His thing is he can't read people. Literally, he has difficulty reading emotions in other people. But that doesn't mean that the bosses that you've had, the leaders you had in the past were autistic. Maybe they just come preformed. Their life experience got them to the point where they don't understand. They are insensitive. They are too demanding in their relationships, how they work with people. Some of them just have absolutely no self-control. Those are the little kids that we see, they're just falling out and kicking. Well, a colleague of mine, when I did work with some emotionally disturbed children, she would say, Ty, what you're seeing is years and years of undiagnosed mental illness, because big apple trees create little apple trees, and we're experiencing little apple trees that have come from big apple trees. They can't control their emotional life. Some of them can't manage responsibility. They can't take on how they deal with their own case of what it means to be responsible for their own lives. What it means to be responsible for their own lives. Let me see. Some of them lack integrity. There's nothing more transparent to all of us emotionally when we find somebody that we go, man, they're so full of crap, because we see them as lacking integrity. Some of the most incredible sensors of integrity, of purpose, are pets and children. They can tell when you aren't where you should be as a human, right? And finally, they just plain lack social skills. Those are the kids that didn't share crayons, right? This is mine. It's mine. I don't care what you think, because somebody allowed me to continue to behave in this way. And so they don't understand empathy and or how to be sensitive. And we'll talk about empathy. Some of you may know this joke, but I'll talk to it later, the difference between sympathy and empathy. And if I don't say that joke, please remind me to tell you the joke. I will say this to you all. This presentation is usually given in person. I actually have an entire set of assessments that I usually use. And because I can't see all of you and I can't be with all of you, I need you to interact with me, either in the Q&A. In the Q&A, because it's actually easy for me to see it in the Q&A. My colleagues are going to help me find the Q&A when you are talking to me, because I won't be able to talk back because I won't be able to hear you. And so put it in the Q&A so I know that you have a question. That will help me drive this thing. All right. So, I did it again. I keep pressing the wrong arrow. So, when you think, I got a little quiz for you. When you think of those, there was one more, building bonds. My fault. It didn't pop out in the presentation. Bad leaders or ineffective leaders have difficulty building bonds with other people, building strong teams. It is a directive that it is somehow they tend to manage their team through, division or through escaping being aware. So what I'd ask you to do is we're going to populate your first of 3 questions. Which of the following in your experiences are reasons for leaders to fail? Your top 1 or 2. I'm not exactly sure how to do it, but let's give it a shot. I have 10 people. Come on, let's see if we can do it. 16 folks. Love it. Were we able to get it looks like we're able to get get it populated? Awesome. 18, 19. Thank you. Which of these 7 do you see as being reasons for leaders to fail? I'm up to 30% of you all. Oh, 41, just quickly jump like that. Come on, help me, give me some information. I need this, because if I don't, then I am surely lacking. It's painful being out here by myself. I'm an extrovert if you haven't already figured that part out. 67, 60%. Oh my goodness. Let's go for 75. What do you think? Let's go for 75, yeah? We'll see if we get it 75. I love it. Are we going to top out? Oh, one more. I'll tell you what. Let's see what the polls say. Let's go to the poll. Can you show the poll? Rigidity. Being rigid. Number 1, being incapable of managing your relationships with others. We have a tie of social skills and building bonds. All of these are about how you manage yourself with other people. Every single one of these is about how you manage self with others. And so that's what we're going to be talking about. Managing myself so I can manage others, either at work or at home. So why is all of this super important? Let's take a look at some data. This is old data, but I think it's reasonably sound data. So 89% of managers believe that people leave them because of money, while 88% leave because of the job, the culture, or the manager, which impacts the work environment. Why people leave. 43% of the folks would have said it's because they don't feel valued, connected. 71, because they feel either not engaged or actively disengaged. Oh, and by the way, not engaged, actively disengaged in a workforce equates to a crap ton of money, because they're coming in, they're sitting, they're taking up space, which means if they are not engaged or actively disengaged, the stuff that you're trying to do every day is not getting done, which means that it now rolls over in terms of cost, time, and effort. 70% of the reasons why people leave their jobs are in direct control of the supervisor. When I worked for the agency that I worked for, there was a poll. They took the climate surveys, and they talked about the leadership above completely disconnected them. The reason why they stayed at this particular agency was because of their direct supervisor, because they felt connected. But here's a data point that says 70% of the reasons why people leave if their direct supervisor can't help them feel connected. 66% of the workers didn't feel identified with or motivated with what the goals of the organization. Conversely, only 12 leave because of money. So that tells me that you all have a really good reason. As a matter of fact, in this particular data set, the number one reason why people leave their job is because of their supervisor, which means if the leadership has a much more connected relationship with their staff, they are onto something. They are onto something. So why is this emotional life? Why is this feeling of connection? Why is this feeling of belonging? And you notice these are emotionally driven. They aren't how much money did I make? It wasn't how many things crossed my desk. It wasn't how many papers did I process. It was I feel, those kind of words that we're looking for. So here's some language around emotion. Isolated people have a vastly increased rate of premature death, 3 to 5 times more likely than people who feel strong social ties. We have data that would suggest that it impacts the workforce productivity. Aldous Huxley, there is only one corner in the universe you can be certain of improving, and that's yourself, which means that if that's the case, right, around being a leader, that you can't expect other people to do stuff if you aren't willing to do the work yourself. Knowing others, Sun Tzu, The Art of War, knowing others and knowing self, in 100 battles goes no danger. Not knowing the other and knowing oneself, one victory for one loss. Not knowing the other and not knowing yourself, you're going to lose every time. Every time. If you aren't invested in who you are, if you aren't invested in the other, you're going to lose every time. And then finally, why aren't you getting paid what you're worth? Maybe because you're a horrible individual. So that says to me, that last one, you know what that says to me? That it really is about the hard work of the soft stuff, right? I used to deal with 2 and 3 star equivalents, right, at the agency where I worked. And they're like, it's soft stuff, man. I don't have time. I don't have time to do like communication skills. They just need to do the work. And those are the ones who are getting stuff done. The ones where they had really strong relationships and they were effective in where their leaders would sit down and say, how are you? Hey, I remember so-and-so was not doing well. How are they doing? Because the last time we talked, because I was paying attention to you, because you matter. A feeling word, matter, right? It's not what you could give me, but that you matter. And good people who understand emotions know what that means. So, situation. And this is why I want you to put it either in the chat or probably the chat at this point. We're going to try to put it in the chat. I want to see what you all have to say. I want to see what you all have to say. So, you're running a little late for work, right? Because the dog just had an accident on your brand new rug. And just as you walk in the door, your supervisor starts at you for being late. And that you need to report to her that report before 10 o'clock. What do you do? What do you do? What happens? Let's see. What do you do? Let's put some language in the chat. I'm curious about what you do. What do you do? What goes through your head? What absolutely goes through your head?
I assume like freaking out is not the right answer.
No, because there's science. Thank you. There's science behind this idea, right? There is science. I see. I sigh, open wide. We were late. Roll my eyes, because this is take a deep breath, smile, grab a cup of coffee, and start working. Love it, Jamie. Jamie's like, Oh, okay, let's do what I got to do, right? Take a breath. Somebody said shrink, apologize, need to take a minute, apologize and get going. But that's fine. That is a reasoned, I appreciate what you all are saying. Those are reasoned responses. But there's some science behind this. Your brain is a warehouse of emotion and thinking. I love it. I didn't realize it was going to take that there was a lag. I love it. I love it. Love it. I got to pay attention to this. So curse him or out than myself and then go to work. Shanika, okay, I got you. So if your brain gets kicked in, because that's where these responses lie, your neocortex, well, let's start with the limbic system. That's what we call your rat brain. That's the brain. That's the part that is that's the one that does fight or flight. Y'all know about fight or flight. The lion comes along, run or fight, right? The lion in this case is your supervisor. Why aren't you dead? Your limbic system does the eye roll. Your limbic system says, I'm about to choke somebody out, right? I want to kill them. That your limbic system is where your feelings lie. It controls. Oh, I got those backwards. My fault. Your limbic system, top left, is not your thinking system. What's described there, my fault. I didn't realize that until now. Your limbic system is where your impulse lies. It's where your emotions lies. It's super primitive. It is super under resourced. That's your feeling side. What you really do, some of you have said that, roll my eyes and get to rolling, is your neocortex. That's the front part of your brain. That's the one that says, I need the job because my kid needs braces. And if I go kill somebody, they ain't gonna be able to get their braces, right? That's the part that's your thinking side. IQ, technical skills, it's really efficient, but there's no emotion intelligence there. And so what we're trying to combine is literally emotions and intelligence. They go together. It's not just one kind of concept. It is the bringing together what literally happens in your brain. It is emotion, back part of the brain, the rat brain, the limbic system, and the science of what happens in the front part of the brain. That's the neocortex. And so here's a really interesting statement. Leadership is surprised to discover how much they do is not driven by how smart they are. The decisions that they make is not driven by how much they've studied, where they went to school, but by their emotions. Why? Because we are hardwired to feel before we think. Hardwired to feel before we think. And so what's the critical part of that? It's critical that leaders have to realize that the impact of their emotions on the success of their people, how much their emotions impact the success of their people and their organizations. Does that make sense to you all? I hope it does. Because what you have to think about then is, so what does that mean? How do I manage that? How do I take advantage of both my thinking, front part of the brain, and my emotion, back part of the brain, to make better decisions, both for my people and for my organization, more responsibly for me. As a matter of fact, the greatest difference between average and high performing leaders is not how smart they are, not whether or not they went to, I went to Howard University for an undergrad, awesome institute, for graduate school, awesome institution. Whether or not I went to Howard or you went to Yale or you went to Stanford or you went to this, to that, it's the people who have the capacity to bring together these two ideas of what it means to be an emotionally intelligent person. An emotionally intelligent person. So I'm going to go to the chat real quick. Okay, we're good. So let's talk about emotions. Emotions are interesting because emotion is not only a mental, but it's a physiological state. So some of you may have been in the military. I was a police officer. There's nothing crazier than walking down a true story. I was used to work by myself. Got a call for a burglar alarm. It's a 2-story building, straight line. Was supposed to be on the 2nd floor of this building. I'm walking down, clearing room to room to room. Do you think I was like, big deal? No, trust me. That was literally 1989 when that happened to me. And I can still remember what that was like, because not only was it a mental state, but I felt it. I thought it. My heart raced. I had to think about my steps. I had to think through this process, because I didn't know if there's just a rat just tripped the alarm, or if there was somebody in there and I had to take action. Emotions are vital because they help us make decisions. And if we understand that, we understand how we can help our brain do better things so we can respond better as a leader. That's what we're trying to go for. How you show up as a supervisor, as a leader, as a manager, understanding where those piece parts are between your emotional state and your intellectual state could make the difference between the success of your organization or not. So think about a time when your emotions got the best of you. When your emotions got the best of you, how did it keep you, or I'm not going to keep you because I'm shaping the conversation. What was the impact on your ability to make a good decision? What was the impact on people around you? What was the impact? You have to think through these things when you have these emotional states. Being aware, and we're going to talk about the four parts of emotional intelligence as laid out by Dan Goldman. We're going to talk about that, but being aware, just aware of your body. There is nothing more beautiful in a human when you can be present to your experience. It is it's a frightening experience, but when you are aware of your presence, how you show up, what's important to you, it can give you a lot of information about how to manage yourself. So, how do emotions drive behavior? So we got to think about the link between your emotions, your capacity to think, make decisions, and lead. Where's the link? Here are some things that we can think about how that impacts about your emotions. Emotions are not new. They're only new when you're born, right? You come out of the womb, everything in utero was cool. You were warm, you were taken care of, you got fed, you didn't have to worry about going to bed. Everything, as soon as you were born, you were like, oh, wait a minute, wait. What are y'all doing to me? I got to make a decision here. Are y'all gonna treat me good? Or are you gonna make me have to, are you the good mom or are you the bad mom? Are you the good parent? Hey, it was warm, I'm hungry. Are you gonna feed me? So all of our emotions are built on each other, on old habits that allow us to make decisions about our lives. They are built from the moment you are born. Some of them you are absolutely conscious of. The majority of them, you have no idea until it pops in your lap and you end up with somebody. How many of you ever said, they remind me of so-and-so, when you got mad at somebody? Here's the thing, they ain't that person, but you're designing your response based on an old habit. We have the capacity with our mood, our emotional state, to alter other people's moods. We have the capacity just by being around it. Like, yeah, here you go. What's wrong with you? We all have done that. What's wrong with them? Their attitude is kind of stinky, right? They got some stank attitude right now, right? That's what we're trying to think about. Or we are able to empathize with the person when we understand those needs. So that's on the positive side, right? That we're able to do something that we talk about empathy. So I'll tell my joke. What's the difference between empathy and sympathy? This is not a part of the quiz. This is kind of an ad hoc quiz. This isn't part of your official quiz. The difference between empathy and sympathy. Okay, so I won't tell the full joke in present company, but if you were here, because it's going to be recorded, but I'll tell it this way. Nobody wants sympathy because you'll find it in the dictionary between an S word and syphilis. And nobody wants either one of those. Sugar, honey, iced tea, right? Get it? I can say that because that was in Madagascar. Sugar, honey, iced tea, and syphilis. Nobody wants sympathy. They want empathy. They want the capacity to know that you understand their condition. Because when you get sympathy, you get, well, isn't that, but you ain't trying to do anything to help them. Exactly. He's like, oh, that's just too bad. Now get to work. You can still say that as a leader because you can say, I know what it's like to have the dog mess on the carpet and the kids not act right. What can I do to help you deal with that so you can get to work? Oh, that's a very different statement. That's a very different statement. That's an empathize. It's being able to stand. We'll talk about what that means. Oops. There we go. And one more. When we are utilizing our emotions appropriately, we can get on the same wavelength. Everybody's feeling kind of funky. Everybody's scared. Everybody's happy. Everybody feels like there is an author that I'm going to mess his name up. Oh, Jessica, love it. Empathy, Jessica said, sympathy is about you. Empathy is about compassion. Woo! Absolutely. 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 I love it. So there's a book called Flow by Szymanski, and I'm going to mess it up. It's a Polish author and so I just offer up his country of origin because you'll get why I can't say the name. There's a bunch of vowels, a bunch of consonants that I can't pronounce. But it's about flow state. When you are in flow state, when you are connected to yourself, your emotional state, you're connected to the flow state of others, work doesn't feel like work. It feels like, wow. Because I know we have all, at the end of a hard day, we go, I feel pretty good. Notice what I said. I feel pretty good. We got a lot of work done. I feel pretty good. This is cool. What happened? I don't know. But we were all just jamming. You read my mind. I read your mind. We weren't reading each other's mind. Some people may have ESP, some parapsychology ability. But when you're in flow state, it really is about being able to read another's mind. Read another's mind. So, quiz. Thank you, Flow Psychology. Thank you, Ann. Quiz, here we go. The only person that can make you mad is you. Yes or no? Go for it. Launch that poll. The only person that can make you mad is you. Let's hear what you have to say.
I just want to say I'm loving this this conversation, this topic in general. I think it's really important, and it's something, as someone who's been like called out for rolling my eyes by a supervisor, it's a little close to home. I have been told that I show every emotion I feel on my face, and people are like watching me during virtual meetings just to see my reaction. So yeah, something I'm like very aware of, especially in the virtual world.
And it really is important in virtual world because as somebody who does offsites and would manage offsites, and we say, please turn on your cameras. Why do I ask that? Because in the three-dimensional, I can see your body. I can see what you paint to. You start scribbling. You start not even scribbling. You start doodling, which, by the way, is a good thing. Doodling is meditative. It not only meditative, it is, what's the word I'm looking for? It brings your parts of your brain together. It brings your left and your right brain together in ways that help you kind of, Mihail, thank you, Emily. Emily wrote at 219, Mihail Shimazemahali. I always get it wrong. That's exact. Mihail wrote flow state. If you ever want to look up, just look it up. You can Google his name. You'll understand what I'm talking about. So we had 76 people, 73%. Great. Give me the results. The only person that can make you mad is you. What do we say? About 2/3 of you said yes. The only person who can make you mad. The other third said no. I think that the only person to make you mad is you. Why? Because you are responding. Because the other person, one of two things, they either don't know or they don't care. They either don't know that they're making you mad or they don't care they're making you mad. As a matter of fact, I'm an executive coach, among other things, a trained executive coach, and I've been doing stuff with like individuals and organizations, blah, blah, blah. There's this concept of projection where I take my own kind of crap that's going on in my head and I put it on somebody else and I behave as if what was in my head is they're actually doing to me. That's the kind of the psychology of it. But the only person who can make you mad is you because you're in respond mode, which means what? By definition, you can manage it. You can manage it. So let's talk about emotional intelligence as defined by Dan Goleman, why it can matter more than IQ. 1995. It's a type of social intelligence. And by the way, if you go look up Dan Goleman, he actually extended emotional intelligence, which is an individual thing, to social intelligence, which is a group thing. So you can do group thing around intelligence. A type of social intelligence that involves the ability to, here we go, monitor one's own and others' emotions, figure out between those two, and then use that information to guide what I do and what I can help others do. Monitor, self-aware, discriminate my stuff from their stuff, and then use that information to think about what I should do next. So let's look at it. 4 things: being aware of your emotions, being smart with your emotions, using that passion to motivate you and other folks, and then using that to bring it under control, what you're feeling, right? The ability to use that powerful thing known as the emotion. Emotions are probably the most powerful thing. We can make an argument. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. It's the most powerful thing in the universe. How do you think wars are started? Just saying. So let's look at these 4 pieces. The domain, self-awareness. Emotional self-awareness is about recognizing where your emotions are, being accurate with where you think they are, and then being confident that you can do something about it. Self-awareness, the first domain, self-awareness. The next domain, self-management, being emotionally in control, being transparent and honest with yourself and others, being adaptive, being achievement-oriented, and then creating initiative. Self-management, how do I manage after I recognize, being aware, what do I do with self-manage? How do I manage myself? Social awareness, this is where empathy, sensing other people's emotions, right? Understanding where they are, not sympathizing with them. I'm mad too, but you're mad. Great. Could you talk to me more about that? You all are leaders. Leaders have the capacity and the responsibility for helping people manage in time how they can manage, how they can become more aware. And the best way to do that is to create space for empathy. If you do it right, individual empathy, you can create organizational awareness, because now you can figure out where the organization is drifting to, how it shows up. And then you can redirect that energy in service of something greater than themselves, right? In service, let's put it this way, coming out of the DoD space, in service of the mission. In psychology, we call that sublimation. Sublimate that stuff and put it someplace else. Put it where it needs to go. And then finally, managing relationships as a domain. If you can figure out yourself, your social, your organizational awareness, now you can develop some relationship management. I can start to manage, help other people do better work, become their best selves, by being inspirational, by creating influence, by helping other people develop those spaces, become a change catalyst. And what do we mean by catalyst? Some of you may remember your probably 10th grade chemistry, maybe 11th grade chemistry. A catalyst creates reaction. It pushes reaction. It doesn't stay in the reaction, because you can't guide people's lives. You can't tell them what to be. You can help them inspire to be their best selves. If you tell them what they need to do, guess what? They will run from you. They will push back. They will say, you can't tell me what I can do, but I can help you think about what might be a best way to think about how to create good space for others and the organization. And finally, in relationship management, you can build great teams. Remember back earlier in this session, we talked about what creates a great team and what doesn't? Having relationship management, having those relationship management skills. Now, here's a question. Is this sufficient? Is this sufficient? Having understanding of the domains. Maybe, maybe not. So I went and I thought about this a little bit coming into the day. There's a difference between being aware of your AI skills and cultivating your AI skills. So the question is, what does it mean to be an emotionally capable leader? What does that mean? How do you use those skills? How do you cultivate those skills that are just domain skills? You need to do something to make them right, work for you as a leader, become more capable, cultivate those. There are 6 of them. In the next several slides, you'll see something in red, which is a part of the definition, and then there are behaviors that you can take a look at. Resonance, the ability to attune oneself and respond appropriately to others. Remember, regulation, knowing the difference. Resonating with somebody, being on the same wavelength. By the way, that's what resonance is. Being on the same wave. What would that look like? Practicing, notice what I'm saying, practicing the ability to read feelings. Practice anger, distress, happiness, sadness, confusion. Working on creating satisfying work relationships. Be candid with the people that you're working with. Imagine yourself in other people's situations. Practice cultivation, learning how to listen intently to other people. Resonance. Wisdom, the ability to understand and respect the strengths and limits of your own internal space. Where you're good at, where you're not good at. Oh, and knowing the difference between the two. I say all the time, I know what I know, but I'm even more conscious of what I don't know. But what do I have to do in that wisdom? I have to go find help. So it's about practice, the behavior, being honest with myself about my own needs. What do I need? What are my capabilities? 2, understanding how my preferences, my history, old habits shape how I respond to situations and others. Knowing what kind of challenges I'm good at and what I ain't good at, and figuring out how to manage that. Being encouraging of asking others what they think. Getting, that's that word somewhere. Feedback. Feedback is data. Data turns to action. Action, practice now becomes wisdom. And then finally, and I think this is undervalued, particularly, we value it in the world, but we don't in our everyday life. But I think we undervalue it in relationships to others. Our intuition. When I was dating, before I got married back in the 90s, when I was a police officer, I would say to anybody I was dating, hey, listen, if I say, and after I stopped working, if I say it's time to go, please just trust me. I may not know what it means, but if I get my spidey sense, and I've lost my spidey. It's under practice now. If my spidey sense goes off, bing, 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 I pay attention to it, because your emotions are old. They're buried here. They're buried in the back part of your brain. That's the caveman. Saber-tooth tiger jumps out. Do I fight? Do I fly? We have practiced that part out of us. It is no longer available to us. And so what we want to do is pay attention to our intuition. Number 3, dynamics. Function effectively in social situations. Applying all of this stuff. What am I understanding my own interpersonal things? What behaviors? What are the group dynamics? What are the behaviors associated with that? Consider other people's feelings, because it's dynamic. It's happening all the time. I'm not saying you'll get it right the first time, but practice. Being comfortable with people who don't think like you. A diverse set. There's some data out there that would suggest that people who belong to a diverse set of organization, or an organization or decision group that is diverse, come up with a better outcome than people who all think the same. We know that intuitively, but it stinks when we have to do it, because it's scary. Our emotions get kicked up. But if we practice the front part of our brain, now we're on to something else. Be responsive to people's different needs. There are, by the way, not just one kind of intelligence. I think Goldman identified either 6 or 7 different kinds of intelligences. Some people are kinesthetic learners. Some people are auditory intelligence. Some people are graphic intelligence. In other words, need to write. Somebody wrote earlier in the chat that doodling is an extremely important part of how we learn, how we process information. So we can't just say, oh, if they have to do it like I do it. Learning how to accurately read situations and adapt. But the only way that you can do this is practice. You can say things as a leader. What I think I saw, using I statements, and it's teaching children. What was the book said? Everything you need to learn in kindergarten. You need to learn in kindergarten. How do you create an I statement? I think this is what I saw. Could you help me understand whether or not I saw it accurately? Right? And being humility and practicing humility, which isn't part of this, but I think it's important to learn how to practice humility. And so practice the idea of inclusion, practice the idea of diplomacy, practice the idea of tact. Remember, at the very beginning, we talked about the reason why people leave, because they think their supervisors and their leaderships are jerks, right? When it gets difficult as a emotionally capable leader, you need to take a deep breath, calm your heart rate down, tune into yourself, and understand what's going on. Ask questions. I'm telling you right now, when I do work with my leaders and I'm doing executive coaching, how many questions did you ask? What do you mean? I don't know. How many questions did you ask? I have a buddy of mine who was ambidextrous. He flew. He wasn't a fighter pilot. Air Force. Who would kill me? He was Navy. Flew off of aircraft carriers. He would kill me. He didn't fly F-14s. He flew like big kind of wobbly planes. But he has always been in charge. He said he had to learn how to do this because he's ambidextrous. If he had something to say, he would write it with his right hand, and then he would write it with left hand. And by the time he wrote the same thing right to left, if it was still important, he would say it. If it wasn't important because the group dynamically had moved, now he's like, okay, they got it. I don't have to say anything. He practiced diplomacy. He practiced tact. He practiced listening. Drive, an unshakable motivation to get something done that is better in the future, creating better. How do we practice? You respond with setbacks. You don't let your emotions overwhelm you. You're capable of, you have the belief that you are able to make a difference as an emotionally capable leader. You're confident that the organization can overcome an obstacle as long as we keep our eyes on the prize. Sounds airy-fairy, but I don't think it is, because it allows us to see that the moment-to-moment thing output is different than the outcome. And please, ladies and gentlemen, don't get those two confused. Your outputs are different than your outcomes. Your output could be a left, right, going backwards. But as long as you keep moving forwards, as long as you keep moving with the direction of where we're going, the output is not the outcome. Pursue the ambitious but understandable goal. Bit by bit, I tell my kids and people, it's great to have a large goal, but there's nothing wrong with having those intermediate goals to let you know you're going in the right direction. Because there's nothing worse than driving in the wrong direction. And that's one way to kill your organization. And then act with the idea of success. And it says fear of failure. And I want to offer this up. To know the difference between failure and learning. I work with startups. I have a couple of startups that I'm working with right now. It's one of my other side gigs. Yeah, I'm one of those guys that have a bunch of jobs. But anyway, one of those other side gigs where in startup land, literally focusing on the idea of learning, not failure. That if you do get a setback, what do I learn from it? Because it will help me go forward. It'll help me find the space for success. And then influence, the ability to call forward the individual and collective energy of the group. Speak with conviction. I ain't got no money, but I think I have the capacity to help people get clear. I can influence. I know I'm an influential leader, right? Because what I do well is put the pieces together in my head, and I can articulate that. So people go, oh, I get it now. Coach people, coach your groups, coach. I didn't say tell, I said coach. Help them learn about where they need to go. Build consensus. Challenge what we already know. What is possible? There's a book by Benjamin Zander. He's an orchestra leader, called The Art of the Possible. Read it a long time ago. What is possible beyond what we know now? And then create space for people to try things. And then finally, and the biggest, is your own capacity for emotional regulation. The fourth of the domains, the sixth of your capacity to lead. Express your feelings appropriately, learning how to deal with stress, learning how to deal with setbacks in a way that you can be a role model for your organization. Take a deep breath, count to 10. Somebody put that in there. Count to 10. Woosah. All right. Is it my buddy? Right and left hand, right hand. Controlling his urge, his need. Find humor, not sick, like psychotic humor. Right. I was a police officer. My dad was a police officer. Cops tell really sick jokes. Why? Because of the way and I'm not saying use that humor, right, at all, but it's a way for them to manage their emotional reaction to some very horrible things that they see. What I'm asking you all to do is find the way to help others with humor. Stay composed under pressure. Look for consistent ways to express yourself. If you're going to be mad, but don't twist mad and sad, mad and happy at the same time. It makes people crazy. And even when things are uncertain, remain constant. We will get through this together. So we have one last quiz. Of those six, resonance, wisdom, dynamics, drive, influence, and emotional resonance, which one do you have to work on to become a better leader?
Ty, we did have a question come through.
Cool.
Someone was asking, kind of back to the resonance. How do you resonate if you're neurodiverse and struggle with executive dysfunction and emotional dysregulation?
So my kid I told you about my oldest, right? He's on the spectrum and he talks about it. One of the things that he practices is as he talks it as his dad and as an executive coach and work with kids with who might be neurodivergent. Like, so what did you see? What did you feel? Not about others, but how did it impact you? Did you hear the voice in your head? What kind of things did you do immediately before, during, and after? Just follow the data, because the data about what's happening is is probably a more consistent metric of what you may have done to others. If you watch them and go, man, that sucked, I have to pay attention to that. It's practice. It takes practice to do that. But at some point you go, okay, when I said this, this happened. My son's an engineer, right? He's finishing up his second year in engineering. My son's an engineer, and he knows how to follow an engineering protocol. And so I will say to him, what was the data? What was the data? And when he does that, it pulls him back in and say, okay, I can follow the data line. But if he tries, how'd you feel? It's like, I didn't get it. Fine. What did you say? What was the reaction? And what was the aftermath? It actually helped him in his personal relationships. He's able now to say, I got stuff I have to work on. Why? Because when I said this, his then girlfriend reacted this way.
Great.
Any other questions?
Thank you. I think that was really the main question in there, but we can go ahead and show the poll results.
Oh, back one. So, dynamics. Emotional regulation makes sense, right? Because we all are dealing with that. I would say that is important. Why? Because we've just spent 3 years trying to figure out what the hell happened in the world, right? The world as we knew it got turned upside down. And so now we're having to learn it. My wife teaches eighth grade math, and her kids, their formative years started in 5th grade. They're now in 8th grade. Their formative years of how to be a middle schooler, they didn't have that. They didn't have 5th, 6th, or 7th. And now they're back in 8th grade, and they have no idea how to manage themselves. Kids aren't the only ones that have had to learn how to re-enter a networked world, right? And I want you to think about these things in networks. And so work on your emotional resonance, your dynamics associated with that, and the wisdom that goes along with that. And I appreciate you all being with me today. I really appreciate it. I want to leave you with this. No creature can fly with just one wing. Gifted leadership occurs when heart and head, feeling and thought meet. These are the 2 wings that allow a leader to soar. Emotional intelligence. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ty. This was a fantastic session. Really appreciate you taking the time to be with us today. We are unfortunately out of time for this session. I want to say one more thank you to our Next Gen Alliance partners who are up on the screen. And then just a few reminders before we head out to our final keynote session of the day. This session will be on demand later, as well as all the other breakout sessions. Everything will be available for a week. So if you missed anything or want to catch up or come back and rewatch this again, it'll be there for you. We'll send an email link for this on demand. You'll get in your inbox. We also have the leaderboard going on. That isn't up to date necessarily in real time, but we do track everything on the back end. So don't worry if you think you're at the top and you don't see yourself there. It is all tracked. If you do want CPE eval credit, make sure to fill out that extra form that's in the resource console. And then if you have any questions, you can reach out to us. And with that, I will leave you. We have our final keynote sessions of the day. Want to thank everyone again for joining us for Next Gen. Our last 2 sessions will be about unconventional paths and having some leaders share their journeys, and then finding passion for what you do. So thank you again to all of our attendees. Thank you, Ty, for your time today, and we'll see you next time.
This was fun, by the way. Thank you.
You did a great job. This was very fun.